Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Islam in Peru may not be widely known, but its roots reach back centuries, weaving through the history, culture, and social landscape of this South American nation. From the early days of migration during the colonial era to the modern presence of diverse Muslim communities, the story of Islam in Peru is one of resilience, cultural fusion, and adaptation. Let's dive into the fascinating world of Islam in Peru and uncover the unique role this faith plays in the heart of Latin America. Islam in Peru has a unique history that reflects the broader patterns of migration and cultural integration in Latin America. It all began in the colonial period, right after the Spanish conquest in the 16th century. Muslims, often called Moors, made their way to Peru, escaping persecution back in Spain. Many found a new life across various parts of Latin America, including Peru, bringing with them rich traditions that subtly influenced the culture. This influence showed up in things like architecture, cuisine, and certain customs. For example, there were the tapadas limeñas, Peruvian women who wore veils in a way that reflected Islamic traditions. But the Spanish Inquisition was very strict, and due to its harsh measures, many Muslims had to practice their faith in secret. Over time, the pressure made it difficult for Islamic practices to continue openly, leading to a gradual fading of these visible customs. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we see Islam re-emerging in Peru. In the 1940s, a wave of Muslim immigrants from Palestine and Lebanon arrived, escaping conflicts in the Middle East. They mostly settled in urban areas like Lima, where they established small communities and added to the cultural diversity of the country. Today, Islam in Peru is still a minority faith, but has a visible and vibrant presence. Two prominent mosques, the Mosque of Lima, set up in 1986 in the Magdalena del Mar district, and the Bab al-Islam Mosque in Tacna, built by Pakistani immigrants in 2000, serve as important centers for prayer and cultural gatherings. These mosques are more than just places of worship. They're hubs for interfaith dialogue and community activities, helping Muslims share their traditions and be part of the country's multicultural landscape. When we look at the number of Muslims in Peru, the figures tell us that Islam is a small but meaningful part of the country's religious makeup. According to the 2017 Peruvian census, Muslims are classified within the 0.3% of the population that follows religions categorized as other, a group that includes Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism. While the census doesn't break down the exact number of Muslims, earlier estimates suggest there are around 2,600 Muslims, with most residing in Lima. This figure is about 0.008% of the entire population, showing just how small the community is. More recent estimates put the number a bit higher, at approximately 5,000 Muslims in Peru, representing around 0.015% of the country's population. This small but vibrant community mostly includes people of Syrian, Lebanese, and Palestinian descent. There isn't detailed information on the split between Sunni and Shia Muslims, but, given global trends, it's likely that a majority of Muslims in Peru are Sunni, with a smaller portion identifying as Shia. So, while the numbers may be modest, the Muslim community in Peru brings its own unique identity and contributes to the nation's rich mix of cultures and beliefs. In Peru, though the Muslim community is small, it remains vibrant and active, mostly centered in urban areas like Lima and Tacna. According to the Islamic Association of Peru, there are about 2,600 Muslims, with roughly 2,000 in Lima and 600 in Tacna. Lima's Muslim population is a mix of Arab descent and local converts, while Tacna's community is primarily of Pakistani origin. Daily life for Muslims in Peru involves a variety of activities that showcase their faith and contribute to society. Religious practices play a big role, with daily prayers, salah, observed individually and as a community. Muslims in Peru also engage in cultural and educational activities. The community gathers to celebrate Islamic holidays, like Ramadan and Eid, and they organize educational programs, such as Quranic studies and Arabic language classes, which are open to both Muslims and non-Muslims interested in learning. Social outreach is another essential aspect of the community's involvement. Muslims in Peru participate in various charitable activities, such as food distribution and support for those in need. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Muslim community in Piura extended a helping hand to vulnerable families, providing aid and supplies. Geographically, most Muslims live in two main regions. Lima. This capital city hosts a diverse Muslim population that uses the Mosque of Lima as a focal point for both religious and cultural activities. Tacna. Located in southern Peru, Tacna has a primarily Pakistani-origin Muslim community centered around the Bab al-Islam Mosque, which supports both worship and community events. Even as a minority, the active participation of Muslims in religious, cultural, and social spheres adds to Peru's multicultural identity, showing that they are a valued part of the country's rich cultural landscape. The Muslim community in Peru, while active and resilient, faces a range of challenges in their daily lives and practices due to their minority status. One of the main issues is religious representation and recognition. Although the Peruvian Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, Catholicism has a special status and receives certain benefits from the government. For example, annual grants go to the Catholic Church for the maintenance of properties and support for clergy, benefits that other religious groups like Muslims don't automatically receive. For Muslims, accessing similar support involves additional bureaucratic steps, making the process more complicated. Another challenge is access to religious education. Public schools in Peru are required to provide religious education, but the curriculum mainly focuses on Catholicism. While parents can request exemptions, there are very few resources available for Islamic education. This lack of support makes it difficult for Muslim families to find options for faith-based learning for their children within the public school system. When it comes to community infrastructure, Muslims in Peru have limited access to mosques and Islamic centers, especially outside of the main cities like Lima and Tacna. Establishing new centers for worship and gatherings is challenging due to legal and financial barriers, which can feel overwhelming for a small community. The lack of accessible spaces for worship limits the community's ability to come together and observe their religious practices. Additionally, Muslims in Peru encounter issues with social integration and awareness. As a small minority, they may experience social isolation and a lack of understanding from the broader society. This can lead to stereotypes and misconceptions that make it harder for Muslims to fully participate in public life. Promoting interfaith dialogue and cultural exchange is essential to help build bridges and foster mutual respect and understanding. Addressing these challenges requires a collaborative approach, involving not only the Muslim community, but also civil society and government institutions. Together, they can work toward ensuring equitable treatment and preserving religious freedoms for everyone in Peru, strengthening the country's diverse cultural and religious fabric. In Peru, Islamophobia and organized anti-Muslim sentiment are not commonly reported, which is somewhat different from what might be seen in other parts of the world. The Muslim community here is relatively small, with around 20,600 people, mostly living in Lima and Tacna. While there aren't documented cases of explicit Islamophobic organizations or organized struggles against Islam, the community does face certain challenges due to its minority status. One of these challenges is social integration and awareness. Being such a small community, Muslims in Peru can sometimes feel isolated or misunderstood. This limited understanding can lead to misconceptions and stereotypes that make it harder for them to integrate fully and participate openly in public life. To help bridge these gaps, the community engages in interfaith dialogue and cultural exchanges, helping to build understanding and respect across different groups. In terms of religious representation and recognition, the Peruvian Constitution does guarantee freedom of religion. However, the Catholic Church has a special status and receives specific benefits from the government, like financial grants for church maintenance and clergy support. These kinds of benefits aren't automatically extended to other religious groups, which can create a disadvantage for Muslims and other minorities who have to navigate additional bureaucratic processes to receive similar support. When it comes to access to religious education, There's another challenge. Public schools in Peru provide religious education, but it's usually focused on Catholic teachings. While parents can ask for exemptions, there are few options for Islamic educational resources within public schools, making it difficult for Muslim families to find a structured way to incorporate their faith in their children's education. The community also faces limitations in community infrastructure. Outside of Lima and Tacna, there are very few mosques or Islamic centers, which makes it hard for Muslims to gather for worship or community events. Establishing new centers involves complex legal and financial processes, which can be challenging for a small community. Despite these challenges, the Muslim community in Peru is proactive in fostering understanding and cooperation. They engage in interfaith dialogues and hold cultural events to showcase Islamic traditions, helping to dispel misconceptions and educate the public. Additionally, they participate in charitable outreach, building positive relationships within society. While Islamophobia may not be a major issue in Peru, the Muslim community continues to work toward acceptance and integration, contributing to the country's diverse cultural landscape. Through these efforts, they are making strides toward greater recognition and mutual respect within Peruvian society. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the fascinating world of Islam in Peru. From its early influences during colonial times to the modern-day challenges and vibrant contributions, the story of Peru's Muslim community is one of resilience, diversity, and cultural enrichment. If you found this exploration interesting, don't forget to like the video and share it with others who might enjoy learning about unique cultural histories. And for more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Your support helps us continue bringing these insights to you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.